lovelies! Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing another book review, and this book review was not planned. Like, I bought this book just randomly because I was waiting for someone at the bookstore, and the whole idea intrigued me, but I think if I'd checked Goodreads, I wouldn't have bought it because it doesn't really have that high of a rating. So this book is called The Girls by Cline. This is her debut novel, and I honestly didn't know if I was going to do a review of this book when I finished it. I just finished it out on the beach in Greece. I don't know if I'll ever be able to explain my love for this book or how I feel about the plot and everything that's happening. The story is just a shell kind of what I can tell you about the book, because I don't know, I think it might be the best book I have ever read. It's just, it's beyond me. I love this book. And, sometimes when you read a really good book, you kind of don't want to tell anyone about it because you're scared people are going to not love it as much as you do, or scared that people are going to love it just as much because you feel like it makes your experience less. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that, but I'm sitting in this forest/desert kind of place, and it's kind of what I imagine the atmosphere to be at a place called The Ranch that's very prominent in this book. So this book is about 14-year-old Evie, who is just a very normal person. Her parents are divorced, but one day she meets these girls at the park, and she becomes very intrigued about something about them. They're about 19 plus minus a couple years. She meets them several times in the beginning, and so one day she hops in their black van and drives to their camp, which is called the Ranch, and it's a place where loads of orphan girls live together with their boss called Russell. It's kind of like a trash heap. It's sort of hippie culture and everything. It takes place in 1969, and so in the beginning it all seems very innocent, they do some stupid stuff, there's a lot of drugs, a lot of sex, but it kind of turns out it's a sort of cult, and yeah, it's just, I don't really want to say more than that because there's so many themes, and the way the author just developed the book, it's just so lovely. It's so brutal and gritty and real, but it's just so beautifully written, and just, I don't want to read any more important quotes because I kind of want you guys to discover them for yourselves. I love this so much. The characters in the book, the place they live at, the girls there, they're just, they wear each other's clothes, everything smells like dirt, always someone who is taking drugs, but it's also very fluid. There's not really any boundaries. The main character, she comes from kind of a rich family, so it's kind of her point of view and everything. The book is divided into 4 parts, and every 4th part starts with one chapter where she is in today's date. So she's 50 years old or something. It's not written 2016, but in what's supposed to be today. She's 50 years old or something, and she's talking about she's kind of telling you her memory of when she was 14 years old, and it's one of those chapters in the beginning of every 4th part, and I just I can't even explain how much I love this book. I loved it so much. Kind of a mix between Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls, which is the review that I have the most views on YouTube, and We Were Liars, but those are both young adult. This is definitely an adult book, but I highly recommend this book. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I'll definitely be writing to the author. I'll read maybe 3 quotes, I think, that don't really reveal much about the story itself. It's just kind of to give you guys a feel of how the writing is, because the writing is really such a big part of this book. I knew how easily it could happen. The past at hand, the helpless cognitive slip of an optical illusion. Who writes like that? How'd you even come up with that? I'm so good. And then here's another thing she says. It's not really about the point, but says, so much of desire at that age was a willful act, trying so hard to slur the rough, disappointing edges of boys into a shape of someone we could love. We spoke of our desperate need for them with rote and familiar words, like we were reading lines from a play. Later I would see this, how impersonal and grasping our love was, pinging around the universe, hoping for a host to give form to our wishes. These are definitely not the best quotes, the way she writes, that I like. Here's also something I think most people can relate to. It says, songs that overheated my own righteous sadness. in my imagined alignment with the tragic nature of the world. How I love to wring myself out that way, stroking my feelings until they were unbearable. I wanted all of life to feel that frantic and pressurized with important, so even colors and weathers and taste would be more saturated. So yeah, it's just really good. Highly recommend it. So that's everything for this review. I don't really have anything special planned. It was just kind of like, either I'm going to talk about this book now or I'm never going to talk about it feeling. I guess if I had like a blanket and start a fire, you know, there were some other girls in hippie clothing, this would be like the perfect atmosphere. But it's just me in the forest, so can't really do much about it. But I hope you guys all have a really, really lovely day and that you enjoyed this review. And tell me if you read the book or want to read it or have read it for sure. Yes, I hope you guys have a really, really lovely day and a lovely summer and a lovely reading month. And I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye!